I feel so low. I live in a world of such little meaning. I feel as though born into the wrong place, and at the wrong time, and even in the wrong mind. Where is my home? Does man truly have no place to lay his head? Where do I feel safe and secure and able, protected by the universe which gave birth to me? Is there a ground to stand on in this life, which is not in continuous movement, bettering itself? Have you ever questioned the word progress? Have you ever questioned where it comes from? What is it which progresses? Of course, a progressive movement of continuity, and so progression is a continuity of that which came before, continuing into a future. Nothing can progress other than from the past. Progress requires continual movement, continuity, to be able to exist at all. And continuity is a repetition this day of what came before, and a continual building upon the same movement into a future. This movement is transparently recognizable as the Great Reset, the British monarchy, our political hierarchical systems, our technological prowess changing our world so damned fast. Can I ask a question? And can I ask also why no one else is asking this question? Where the hell are we going? And what the hell are we doing to ourselves in going there? Progress is also a habitual, scholastic, brainwashed, automatic activity of our thinking. Have you noticed there is so very little love in this world? None, actually. Love of man and woman, perhaps. Well, it's not love. The name given may be that. Love is unknown to humanity. If you saw this, it would break your heart open, because love is the central beating heart of this universe, which can never be met by a human being who is living in this inner matrix-like programmed brain structure of approaching life always seeking to progress. Progress is the most destructive approach to our species' lives we could ever have undertaken. And this approach to life of continual progress denies love between us and brings war into our lives. And this approach is progress. Satan is progressive. Progress is evil to our race, because progress is based on a continuity from the past, and our pasts are naturally and necessarily divisive between every single one of us. No one holds the same past experiences, and as we seek progress in continuity of this limited divisive past into a future, we divide in life necessarily in every way possible, one from another, in competition against each other, train tracks which run together but never meet. As we tread the same monotonous footsteps over and over again, every single day, seeking progress, making a deeper imprint in our life groove, while standing in exactly the same place. And as we live within an inner world of constant inner word-based commentary arising from past memories, we are living absolutely dividedly from each other, and so unable to care for anything or anyone other than ourselves and our projected sense of progress. For we are all eternally, constantly occupied in acts of inner and outer progress. Look at our oceans drowning in plastic. Plastic was a movement of progress. Whose plastic is this? There is no progress, it seems, in cleaning the planet when the measurement of progress are numbers on a profit balance sheet and size of shareholder dividend. This world is so alien to me, and so I feel more than lost upon it. I await death with half a smile on my face. I may fear the potential road there, and something conceptual and artificial within me shivers in a dark corner of my mind at the impasse which fast approaches my life. The enemy of my progress is my death. But death, I see, is the ending of the continuity of this life, and so my eternal freedom from the pointless pursuit of never-ending progress. When all were born into perfection. Imagine if we could turn this world back to its pristine condition. Would that not be the most desirable of all progress? Well, progress is what has removed this pristine condition from our lives. We need surely to stop giving attention to a better, imaginary, conceptually projected future and turn our eyes to this real moment and build a better now. If now is a divided and warring and conflicted chaotic existence for mankind, our progress, each of us necessarily moving in a differing direction from a differing past to a differing conceptual projected future, can only make this situation much worse. And we care truthfully hardly a thing for each other, because progress is an isolating journey, guided from the past, different for each of us. Progress this day is seeing robots replace the lives of humans. Progress is seeing us being elbowed into eating insects, reversing human race habits of culture present for thousands of years, practically overnight. This apparently is progress. Don't eat real eggs anymore. We can make better artificial ones, and we can improve the genetic code of life of living things, which have evolved over countless millions of years, because progress just cannot stand the movement of the natural. Progress needs to be improved upon. Does anyone else ever notice that we were born into perfection, and there was never any need to improve upon that? We were given everything we could ever possibly need. God, this attitude of the progressive among us makes me want to scream out loud. Progress is a devil. The past is what progresses, obviously, and the past is what is known to our lives. The known is knowledge, and knowledge of good and evil removed us from the Garden of Eden, which it had to, for progress sees us living for a conceptual future, and the garden of this Eden we were all born into lives only in this present moment. It is here now, and as complete could be as it is, and still offering us all a security. What is killing our God-given security is divisive progress, the ambition it brings, and the divided world we must all live in as a result. Is this not so goddamned tiring? Born in paradise, and we have to go improving upon it, inventing a future, dividing our race forever, brother against brother forever. Can you see how my heart cries? You see, when you seek to progress from perfection and life, all you can ever progress towards is the artificial and the dead. The more we move away from our life or God-given nature, whichever way you want to look at that question, the less natural we become. Is this not common sense? Life arrives with a natural order, and we have ignored life's natural given, universal, loving, living and dying order in favour of our man-made disorder of psychological progress. How many lives has our divisive progress cost us? How many wars in the name of divisive progress and freedom over how many thousands of years? No, I speak words of truth when I begin whispering into your ear that true life recognizes no progress. Man has been given freely what man needs to live perfectly. We grow from this soil, and this soil is what sustains us. Our truest of medicines grew here with us on earth for free. Our truest of foods will never come from any 3D printer, nor will the physiology of our digestive systems take kindly to the abrupt enforced changes of the eating habits of our species built over millennia by evolution. But this is the continual movement of man's never-ending progress, the Satan of progress. Progress demands continuous change. And yet the change progress demands is built upon a continuity of the future, and so is no change at all other than a modified continuity of that which came before, and that which came before is never worth continuing. The beauty of life we are missing is within an orderly relationship to the understanding of the sustainability of our planet and the continuity of the perfection given freely to us. The death of true sustainability and perfection is progress. We live in a finite world, a renewable, finite world, big enough for all of us, but not big enough for any of us if progress is driving our lives. For we have, over countless years, progressed divisively in repeating patterns of war, in repeating patterns of economic disorder over centuries, costing the lives of hundreds of millions. Progress is behind all of this horror, the despair which arises in a man's heart when he can see the disparity between what life had intended for us, the beauty, the freedom, the care, the understanding, the immeasurable, the depth, the space, the silence, the death, the actual life and death, lived and died, and what we have turned the lives of mankind into, soon into, in the name of progress. Digital IDs, chips in human brains, eating insects and owning nothing. This is the cost of progress. You know, there's a strange thing about ownership. We think we are so rich when we own our little, limited whatever, and however much we own, it is always limited, for there is always more to possess. Some have a need for a lot more than they truly ever could need. Seems today, some are attempting to scoop up the whole planet practically into their back pockets, and this has been the final destination of our progress to date. Now, progress is behind the continuity of all ownership. We think we are rich when we own a dozen palaces or mansions, but if we cannot open our hearts to save the lives of dying children, well, we could own 1,000 palaces and still be one of the poorest men in this universe. What if instead of ownership, we lived on a planet which denied ownership? What if the whole world became everyone's? Was this not the intention of life? What if we could stop progress and arrive here and now, where and when we are this day, put down our movement of continual, monotonous, mind-numbing, destructive, divisive progress and arrive here, where and when we are. Progress is not only an external movement to our lives. The root of this movement is actually found within our thinking. We have been programmed into this movement of progress during school years, thanks in great part to a gentleman by the name of John D. Rockefeller, the man who steered our society away from our natural-born life medications, all in the name of progress. The man who took us away from the natural, as progress always must do. Please, rich or poor, stop and think about this until you see the truth or not for yourself. I am stating categorically that the act of progress is unnatural and demonic to life and will destroy everything. This is not my ideology. This is not an idea I have had. This is factual and playing out before our very eyes, in our brains, in our outer and our inner worlds of progressively educated movement and thinking. Absolute fact. You have to check this and verify for yourselves. Always keep in mind, I may be mad. Why are we constantly thinking? Because we have been psychologically programmed to progress. Exam after exam, memory after memory lays down the foundational path. Brainwashed in school to an ideology that life is a progressive movement, and this is where our only life security is ever to be found. It is not. Life is a new movement. Progress is from the old and a repetition of that old. Life is never found in the old, which is dead to life. The past is held in perpetual continuity to reach its arms into a greater future. And this is our progress, a huge hamster's wheel of infinite proportions. We are living on a progressive loop, repeating the same mistakes as previously in larger and larger, expanding, conflicting circles. This is the inner brainwashed insanity educated into us all. And by the way, good old John Dee also had a large hand in the design of our brainwashing education system, which roots our lives firmly within thinking, which is continuity of memory, which is to progress into a conceptual future from a remembered past, which is a continuity of the past. This is the automatic pattern we are living within, and we have built a societal structure in this image, which is destroying our lives this day. We may do well to stop and recognize, all of us, the immense imminent danger in this patterned psychological approach to life we are all so very obviously caught within. Our lives, our societies are in chaos because we all seek to progress into different futures from obviously differing pasts. And so we are all now isolated from one another. We have lost all relationship and all love. Our ambitions become more important than another man's life. We become incredibly self-interested and uninterested in the progress of the lives of another. Our arrival at the next rung of the ladder of mundane progress is what divides us all. And so we have people in this world still looking for more, who hold this day an immeasurable level of wealth. Wealth they could never spend should they live 1,000,000 lifetimes. And yet still they seek more and take from those who have not enough. These people spend their immeasurable wealth in corrupting the ground of all. And they are permitted to live this way, for our unseen God, unspoken God is progress. We never question what we are. What if we stopped progress? You know, if we are going nowhere, we are here. And here is the same for each and every one of us. If we are not traveling to arrive, we have arrived. If we are not seeking to change, we have already changed. No more fighting, no more chaos, no more profit, ambition, and divisions between one man's life and another. Seeing the same world now, not chasing after billions of variants of conceptual, psychological, ideological futures. Living and responding to the same physical world and to the same people we all are met by the senses. Caring for all. If progress can end, if the interests of the investor can cease to lead this world, and in its place can arrive the clear-sighted perception of a mind freed from progress, then we meet each other living and responding to the same physical world we have always lived within, met by the senses. Then at last I can come to see what was always there, but I previously had no eyes to see, for my mind has been unburdened from the constant enslavement to psychological progress. A free mind is a mind unoccupied. A progressive mind knows nothing other than occupation, and so a progressive mind is never free. No progress can ever free a mind from all occupation, and a free mind sees, and a seeing mind cares, and a caring mind is what is in the only position to build a different world than the corrupting stink of progress. What man of love could hold the wealth some men do this day, and yet see the world continue the way it is? And if our men of wealth are not men of love, and there is little sign any one of us is a man of love, then why do we follow? Because our God is progress, and those who have progressed most become positions of authority. Need our lives be so distorted and corrupted in this way? What say you? Why do we accept a life of such ridiculous corruption? The word corruption, etymologically, originally meant to break into pieces, as progress is continuity from a past, and we all have differing pasts, and so we seek to progress into differing conceptual futures. Then our approach into a life of progress is King of Kings at repetitively playing the hand of divisive corruption. And just look at this world. Progress and corruption must go hand in hand, because progress divides us into billions, and the word corruption means to divide. No one is to blame. No one is to blame. Our lives are all being sacrificed on the bloody road of corruption, of progress. I deeply wish more of us questioned and came to demand a different kind of life than this.
What is then man to do? What are we, you and I and others, concerned, if we are, as we must, with this terrible world in which we are living, the dangerous world, where if you disagree you are being killed or sent to concentration camps or excommunicated or driven into solitude, put in prison, and so on and so on. What has happened to man? What's happened to you? Why man has become like this after 1,000,000 years or more? What is the root cause of all this? What is the origin of this terrible confusion, this total disregard for human beings, for another? What is the cause of our ailment? Most of us deal with the symptoms, some superficial reactions and we try to find a solution for those. But apparently, we never ask fundamental, basic questions. We never seem to demand of ourselves fundamental questions. And it's only, one may point out, that in asking basic questions, one may have the right answer. And the basic question is, if one examines, that the crisis, and perhaps this crisis has always existed in our human being, crisis is in our consciousness. Consciousness is what you think, what you are, not the momentary responses only, but the consciousness of your particular desire, particular longing, particular fulfillment, identification, fears, pleasures, and the sorrow, the pain, the grief, the lack of love and compassion. All the things that thought has put together in the content of consciousness. All that is what we are. Our beliefs, our experiences, our depressions, our immense sense of loneliness and despair, our longing to be loved, to be encouraged, to be held together. All that is our consciousness, our nationality, our peculiar religion of 2,000 years, which is vast propaganda, or 5,000 years in the Asiatic world, or 3,000. All that is our consciousness. Whatever thought has put together, both outwardly in the technological world and what thought has put together psychologically in the inward world, is part of our consciousness. And the crisis is there, not in the development of technology, which is overpowered, which is almost destroying the world. The crisis is not in belief, in faith, in some sectarian group. The crisis is not somewhere out there, but it is where you are. The crisis is in your consciousness. And apparently, we don't seem to be able to meet it. which many of us do recognize the crisis. If we are aware of what is happening globally, if we are sensitive, alert, knowing no scientist, politician, economist, or biologist with their extraordinary experiments that are making. The crisis is in our mind, in our heart. It is our consciousness. And recognizing the crisis, because it's the crisis of everybody, not just yours or mine. It's a global crisis. It's the crisis of humanity. Now we've reached a point we can totally obliterate each other completely. Atom bomb, the new technology of war, and so on. One wonders if one is aware of all this. Not be only concerned with our own particular little problems, which is part of our crisis too, our particular loneliness, depression, sorrow, pain, pleasure, which is part of this, of our consciousness, but also the global consciousness of man, of a human being. That consciousness is not your consciousness, it's a global consciousness, because everywhere man is suffering, lonely, despair, terribly uncertain, frightened, utter lack of love, compassion, intelligence. It's a common ground upon which all human beings stand together.